He was unarmed, but the alien princess gave him power. The sun, pale and distant, gave no warmth, only a dim, cold light that reflected off the jagged towers and broken streets below. Every building had been hollowed out by the war that had claimed the planet long before humans had even arrived. The ground was littered with debris, shattered metal, smoldering remnants of vehicles, and the faint glow of energy crystals that pulsed weakly underfoot. In this chaos walked a single human, unarmed, alone, and very aware of how small he was in this alien world. His name was Kieran. He had lived his entire adult life in scattered human colonies across different planets, surviving because of his quick thinking and careful observation. But this planet was different. The air carried a strange tang of ozone and dust, making each breath a chore. Strange insects, bigger than a human hand, crawled across the broken roads, their translucent shells reflecting the dim light. Every step was dangerous. Every sound could be the last he would ever hear. Kieran kept his eyes low and moved quietly, trying not to make a sound. His clothes were patched and worn, not from fashion but from necessity. Each tear and repair told a story of another narrow escape. He had learned to move fast, to keep calm, and to think 3 steps ahead, but he knew even that might not be enough on this world. He paused at the corner of a collapsed tower, peering through the gaps in the rubble. His heart raced when he spotted movement ahead. 2 alien soldiers, their armor black and segmented like insect shells, patrolled the street. Their weapons were unlike anything Kieran had ever seen, long, silver rods that hummed with a dangerous energy. He swallowed hard and flattened himself against the debris, praying they would not notice him. The soldiers' boots clanged on the metal, echoing in the hollow city. Kieran held his breath. His mind raced for a plan, any plan, but he had nothing. No weapon, no distraction, no ally. Only his own instincts and hope that the aliens did not smell him, did not see him, did not hear him. One of the soldiers stopped, turning his head slowly as if sensing something. Kieran froze, and for a moment the world seemed to shrink. The wind whistled through the broken towers. Dust fell from above. And then, with a quiet curse in their alien language, the soldiers continued walking. Kieran exhaled slowly, realizing how close he had come to death in the blink of an eye. He continued forward, his steps cautious but determined. Each alley he passed through was a maze, each doorway a possible trap. He had no idea why he had been drawn to this part of the city, only that somewhere deep inside him, he felt that he had to keep moving. Survival was instinct, but curiosity, the kind that often led humans into danger, pulled him onward. Suddenly, a noise behind him made him freeze. A soft, metallic tapping, almost like someone walking on broken glass. Kieran turned, only to see nothing. The street behind him was empty. His pulse quickened. He crouched low, trying to make himself invisible, but he knew he could not stay hidden forever. He needed to find shelter. He needed a plan. As he rounded a corner, he stumbled upon a building unlike any other he had seen on the planet. It was tall and elegant, standing amidst the ruins as if untouched by the destruction around it. Its surface shimmered in colors that changed with the light, like liquid metal frozen in time. Strange symbols were etched into its walls, glowing faintly, and a soft hum vibrated in the air, resonating in Kieran's chest. He approached cautiously, feeling both fear and awe. There was a doorway, tall and imposing but open. No guards, no traps he could see. Something about it drew him in, a feeling he could not explain. He stepped inside, and the world outside seemed to vanish. The interior was magnificent. Light danced across walls that seemed alive, moving in patterns that made the room feel larger than it could be. The air was warmer here, filled with a faint, pleasant scent he couldn't identify. He realized he was not alone. Standing at the far end of the hall was a figure unlike any creature he had ever seen. She was tall, taller than a human, and her skin had a soft, luminous quality like moonlight. Her eyes were large and piercing, a brilliant shade of blue that seemed to see everything. She wore flowing garments that shimmered like water and moved as if they had a life of their own. But what struck Kieran the most was the aura of authority and power around her. Every movement she made was precise, deliberate, and commanding. The alien princess, as humans would later come to call her, regarded him silently. Kieran felt exposed, like a child standing before a queen. He had no weapon, no skill to impress her, only his courage and his fear. "You are far from home," she said, her voice melodic but firm, filling the room without raising its volume. It was a language he did not understand, yet somehow he could grasp the meaning perfectly. He realized she had spoken directly into his mind. I'm just trying to survive," Kieran said, his voice small. "I don't want trouble." She studied him for a long moment, and he felt as though she were weighing his soul. Finally, she took a step forward, and the air around her seemed to vibrate with energy. Kieran instinctively took a step back. "You are human," she said, "weak, unarmed, yet you have survived longer than I expected." Kieran swallowed hard. I don't know why, maybe luck." She smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed both kind and mysterious. "Luck is part of it. But there is something else, something in you that is not like the others." Kieran did not know what to say. He had never considered himself special. He was ordinary, unremarkable, and completely unprepared for the world he had stumbled into. Yet her gaze made him feel seen, understood in a way no one had ever seen him before. "Why are you helping me?" he asked cautiously. The princess moved closer, and Kieran felt a strange warmth as if the energy in the room was focused on him. "I am not helping you," she said softly. "I am observing, but you will need more than observation to survive here. You will need power." "Power?" Kieran asked, confused. I don't have any." "You do not," she replied, her voice calm but certain. "Not yet. But I can give it to you." Kieran's mind raced. He wanted to ask how, why, what it meant. But before he could speak, the princess raised her hands. Streams of light and energy flowed from her fingertips, wrapping around him like invisible armor. He felt a warmth, a pulse, a surge of something he had never experienced before. His muscles tingled, his senses sharpened. For the first time, the world felt clear and vivid. He could hear the faint hum of distant machinery. He could see the tiniest movements in the shadows. I feel different," he whispered, awe in his voice. "You have been given a chance," she said. "A chance to survive, to fight, to be more than a mere human. But power alone is not enough. You must learn to use it, to trust yourself, and to choose wisely." Kieran nodded, feeling a strange mixture of fear and excitement. He did not fully understand what he had been given, but he knew one thing: he could not waste it. The streets outside were still dangerous. The aliens still hunted humans. And he was still unarmed in the conventional sense. But now something had changed. "You will need to leave soon," the princess said. "The world outside does not forgive weakness, and even with this gift, you are not invincible." Kieran took a deep breath and nodded. I'll try, I promise." The princess studied him once more, her eyes unreadable. Then, without a word, she turned and walked toward the end of the hall, disappearing through another doorway that shimmered and closed behind her. Kieran was left alone, the energy from her gift still humming in his veins, the weight of what he had been given pressing on him in a way he could not yet comprehend. Outside, the ruined city awaited. The alien patrols still moved through the streets, and danger lurked behind every corner. But Kieran walked forward now with a new determination. He was unarmed, yes, but now he carried something far more powerful: a chance, a gift, and the knowledge that someone far stronger than him had seen potential where no one else had. And in the depths of his heart, Kieran realized that survival was no longer enough. He wanted to rise. He wanted to prove that even a human, alone and unarmed, could change the course of events on a planet dominated by creatures far stronger, far more advanced, and far more dangerous than him. With each cautious step, He felt the power within him pulse and grow, guiding him forward, preparing him for the challenges that awaited. The streets of the alien city were dark, cold, and full of danger, but for the first time, Kieran felt that he might have a chance to survive and perhaps to thrive. Kieran woke to a strange calm. The ruins of the city were quiet, almost too quiet. The dim light from the twin moons filtered through broken windows and crumbling walls, painting the streets in silver and violet. His muscles still tingled from the energy the princess had given him. The feeling was not uncomfortable, it was alive, like a humming current running through every fiber of his body. His senses were sharper now. He could hear the faintest movement from far away, feel the slight shift of air, and even detect the subtle vibrations in the cracked metal streets. Despite the gift, fear remained. He had survived so far by luck and instinct, but this new power was unknown. He did not know its limits, how long it could last, or whether it would protect him against the alien patrols that dominated the city. The streets were dangerous, and even with enhanced senses, one wrong step could end everything. Kieran moved carefully through the city, testing his newfound abilities. At first, it was simple things, leaping over piles of rubble without effort, sensing the tiniest movement nearby, hearing whispers from the wind that carried far more information than ordinary hearing could. Each success built confidence, but each failure reminded him how unprepared he still was. His hands shook slightly when he tried to lift a fallen beam, realizing that raw strength alone was not enough. The energy required focus, intention, and control. Hours passed, and he wandered deeper into the ruins. The city had been abandoned for centuries, yet signs of life remained in small corners, plants that glowed faintly in the dim light, small creatures scuttling across broken streets, and remnants of the alien empire's technology humming quietly in the shadows. Kieran paused often, observing the patterns around him. He realized that survival was more than strength. It was understanding the environment, predicting danger, and moving with awareness. At one point, he encountered a collapsed street that stretched across a deep chasm. The opposite side was littered with debris, and without careful thought he could not cross. He crouched, focusing on the energy flowing through him. Slowly, he felt the surge of power respond to his intent. He leapt, not like a human, but like something larger, faster, and more precise. His body landed on the opposite side with balance and grace, as if the energy had guided him. "This is incredible," he whispered to himself. His voice echoed faintly against the broken walls. He felt alive in a way he had never experienced. For the first time in years, he felt like more than a survivor. He felt like someone capable of action, not just reaction. As he continued exploring, he sensed movement ahead. It was subtle at first, a faint rhythm in the ground, a quiet shift of energy. He crouched, blending instinctively with the shadows. Slowly, he spotted a group of alien soldiers patrolling in formation, unaware of his presence. They moved with precision, their armor glinting in the dim light, their weapons humming with energy. Kieran studied them, realizing that brute force would not help. Even with his gift, attacking them directly would be suicide. He decided to observe, learning their pattern. He discovered that they paused briefly at intervals, communicating silently with gestures and devices he could not fully understand. With careful timing, he slipped past them, moving faster and more deliberately than ever before. The gift the princess had given him was more than strength. It was awareness, intuition, and perception beyond human limits. As he moved deeper into the city, he noticed faint trails of light on the walls and streets. They pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Curious, he followed them and discovered a small chamber hidden beneath a collapsed building. Inside, the room was filled with alien devices, machines he could not name, glowing crystals, and panels of light displaying symbols that shifted constantly. He reached out, letting the energy within him interact with the devices. To his surprise, the symbols rearranged themselves, opening a small passageway. It was a path deeper into the ruins, possibly a place the aliens used as a secret outpost or laboratory. Kieran hesitated, feeling both fear and excitement. His instincts told him danger awaited, but his curiosity pushed him forward. Inside the passageway, the air was warmer, and the walls shimmered faintly, as if alive. He moved cautiously, sensing every vibration, every sound, every subtle change. Then he saw her. The princess stood at the far end of the corridor, calm and regal as ever. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the light of the chamber. Kieran approached, bowing slightly, not out of fear but respect. She nodded, acknowledging his growth. "You are learning quickly," she said, her voice gentle yet firm. "You understand the basics of the gift, but there is more." "Power without control is dangerous, even for a human," Kieran nodded. "I feel it. Sometimes it helps me, and sometimes it feels like it resists me." "That is natural," she replied. "The energy responds to your mind and intent. Focus, clarity, and purpose are key. You must understand yourself before you can master it." She guided him through exercises, simple at first, like sensing the movement of objects from a distance, enhancing his hearing to detect the faintest sounds, and focusing energy to move objects without touching them. Kieran struggled initially, frustration building when his control faltered. But the princess was patient, offering guidance and encouragement without ever taking over. Hours passed, and Kieran began to feel a bond forming between them. It was not a bond of friendship or romance, not yet. It was mutual respect, an understanding that they each had strengths, and that by learning from each other they could achieve more. The princess admired his determination, his resilience, and his courage. Kieran admired her wisdom, her strength, and the quiet compassion that underlay her power. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Kieran froze, the energy inside him reacting instinctively. The princess's eyes narrowed, and she gestured for him to stay close. From the shadows, a creature emerged, larger than any he had seen, with jagged limbs and glowing eyes. It was a guardian of the ruins, a creature designed to hunt intruders. Kieran's first instinct was to run, but the princess placed a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. "No," she said, "you can do this, trust yourself." He focused, letting the energy flow through him. His senses sharpened, and he could see the creature's movements before they happened. He leapt to the side as it lunged, the force of its attack barely missing him. Using the energy within him, he guided a piece of debris, hurling it with precise force at the creature. It staggered, surprised by the human speed and accuracy. The princess joined silently, enhancing his movements subtly, guiding without interfering. Together they faced the creature, moving in perfect synchronization. Kieran felt exhilaration, fear, and focus all at once. With a final surge of energy, he disarmed the creature, sending it crashing to the ground. It did not move again. Kieran's chest heaved with exertion, adrenaline coursing through him. The princess watched silently, her eyes approving. "Well done," she said. "You did not panic. You thought, you acted, and you controlled the gift. That is progress." For the first time, Kieran felt proud, not of surviving, not of luck, but of using the power within him to face a threat and overcome it. He realized that this gift was more than survival. It was a chance to become something greater, to challenge limits he had never imagined. As they moved through the chamber, the princess spoke again. "There will be more challenges. The city is full of dangers, aliens, creatures, traps, but each time you face them, you will grow. The gift is not just power, it is guidance, perception, and potential. You must learn to trust it and yourself equally." Kieran nodded, determination firm in his eyes. He had survived unarmed before, relying only on instinct. Now, with this gift, he had the opportunity to not just survive, but to make a difference, to challenge the odds and perhaps, one day, to protect others like him. They moved together through the ruins, encountering small patrols of alien soldiers. Each time, Kieran tested his control, learning how to avoid detection, manipulate the environment subtly, and react with precision. The princess observed, offering corrections and praise, her presence a quiet but powerful support. By the end of the day, Kieran was exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced danger, controlled his newfound abilities, and survived encounters that would have killed him before. He realized that the gift was not just a tool, it was a responsibility. Every choice mattered, every action had consequences, and every step forward required courage. As night fell, Kieran sat on a ledge overlooking the ruins, the energy from the princess still flowing faintly through him. The city below was quiet, but he knew it was only a temporary peace. The alien empire's forces were everywhere, and the dangers were far from over. But he no longer felt like a powerless human. He felt capable, aware, and ready to face the challenges ahead. And deep inside, he knew one thing: survival was no longer enough. With the princess's guidance and the gift she had given him, he could become more than a survivor. He could become a force, a human who could change the course of events, even in a world dominated by beings far stronger and more advanced than himself. The night was long, and the dangers of tomorrow loomed large. But Kieran felt something he had never felt before: hope, focus, and the quiet certainty that he was no longer just unarmed and alone. He was learning to be powerful, and the journey had only just begun. The city had grown darker over the past few days, though Kieran could see more than he ever had before. The energy the princess had given him pulsed gently through his body, steady and responsive. It had become part of him, like a second heartbeat, guiding his senses and sharpening his thoughts. The ruins of the city, once terrifying and unwelcoming, now felt like a complex puzzle he could begin to understand. Kieran had spent hours training, observing, and practicing his control over the energy. But he knew he could not remain in the safety of the hidden chambers forever. The alien empire's patrols were constant, and the humans scattered across the planet were suffering. They needed someone who could think differently, move faster, and survive where others could not. Kieran felt a quiet determination rising in him. He had to test his abilities in real situations. He crouched on a broken balcony overlooking a wide avenue below. Alien soldiers moved with precise patterns, their shadows long in the dim light. Kieran observed them carefully, counting their steps, noticing the pauses and shifts in their movements. He knew that brute force would not win the day. Patience, observation, and clever use of his gift would. A sudden movement caught his attention. A human scavenger had been cornered by two soldiers. The humans were weak, unarmed, and panicked. Kieran's heart tightened. He had been in their position before. With careful thought, he shifted the energy flowing through him, enhancing his speed and precision. Within moments, he had leapt down to the street, landing silently behind the soldiers. Before they could react, he guided a piece of debris to trip one of them, sending it crashing to the ground. The other turned, surprised, and Kieran focused again, using a controlled burst of energy to push him backward into the wall. The soldiers groaned, dazed and confused, unable to comprehend how a single human had outmaneuvered them. The scavenger stared at Kieran, wide-eyed and trembling. "You saved me," he stammered. Kieran nodded, keeping his eyes on the soldiers. "Go, stay quiet, move fast." The human ran, disappearing into the maze of streets, leaving Kieran alone with the stunned soldiers. They recovered slowly, weapons raised, but Kieran was already moving. Using the energy, he enhanced his reflexes, dodging their attacks and guiding small debris to block their movements. Each action was precise, calculated, and deliberate. Within minutes, the soldiers fled, confused and shaken. Kieran stood alone in the street, chest heaving, but a small smile touched his lips. He had done more than survive. He had helped someone else, using his gift wisely. For the first time, he felt the weight of responsibility, not fear, not panic, but purpose. As he moved through the city, word of his presence began to spread. Humans who had once struggled to survive now whispered of a lone figure, moving like a shadow, defeating alien soldiers with impossible speed and skill. Kieran did not seek recognition, but the effect was undeniable. Hope began to grow in places long abandoned by optimism. The princess watched from afar, her presence subtle but always nearby. She did not interfere directly but observed his actions, noting his decisions, his control, and his growing confidence. When he faced danger, she guided him through subtle shifts in energy, small nudges that enhanced his instincts without removing responsibility. Kieran felt the influence, but he could not pinpoint it. It was as if the city itself was guiding him, shaping him into someone more than human. One evening, Kieran discovered a hidden warehouse at the edge of the city. Its walls were covered in alien symbols, and inside he found crates filled with advanced weapons, armor, and supplies. The humans in hiding had been trying to salvage what they could, but they lacked the skill and strength to move much of it. Kieran saw an opportunity. Using his enhanced strength and precision, he began organizing the supplies, creating paths and methods that the humans could use. Slowly, they began to arrive, astonished at his efficiency. You moved all this?" one of the humans asked, disbelief in his voice. Kieran nodded. "I can help, but you need to stay hidden and be smart." They followed his guidance, learning how to avoid patrols, set simple traps, and move quickly through the ruins. Kieran taught them small techniques, enhancing their awareness with the energy he had learned to control. They could not wield it themselves, but they could follow his lead, and for the first time, they felt a chance at survival. Days passed, and Kieran grew stronger, not just in skill, but in understanding. He realized that the gift was not only for physical strength or agility. It allowed him to read situations, predict movements, and sense danger before it became immediate. He could guide others, not by controlling them, but by teaching them to think, move, and act strategically. The first major challenge came when the alien empire sent a patrol of elite soldiers to hunt humans in the area. Kieran had known this day would come. He had prepared carefully, setting traps, mapping escape routes, and coordinating the humans he had trained. The patrol moved swiftly, confident and dangerous, but Kieran was ready. As they approached the warehouse, Kieran signaled the humans to hide and took a position on a collapsed roof. He observed the patrol, noting their formation and timing. Using the energy, he guided small objects to create distractions, causing confusion and splitting the soldiers' attention. One soldier fell into a trap, another stumbled over debris Kieran had moved from afar, and within moments the formation was disrupted. Kieran leapt into the midst of them, moving faster than they could react. He dodged attacks with precise timing, using bursts of energy to enhance his speed and strength. Each move was calculated, aimed to subdue without unnecessary risk. The patrol was forced to retreat, confused and frustrated by a human who should have been powerless. The humans emerged from hiding, astonished and grateful. You did it," one whispered. "We didn't think anyone could survive them." Kieran shook his head. "It's not just me. It's strategy, awareness, and patience. You can do this too. You just need to believe it." Word of the event spread quickly. Humans who had once felt hopeless now whispered of Kieran, the human who moved like the wind and struck like lightning. Even some aliens began to notice, questioning how one human could defy expectations so consistently. The princess approached him the following night, appearing silently in the warehouse. Her eyes glowed faintly, and Kieran felt the familiar surge of energy when she was near. "You have done well," she said, "but this is only the beginning. You face more than patrols. The Empire watches and they will not ignore you forever. Power alone is not enough. You must lead, inspire, and make decisions that shape the future." Kieran nodded. "I understand. I want to do more than survive. I want to help others, to give them hope, to show that humans can fight back." Good, she replied. You are learning not just to wield the gift, but to understand its meaning. True power is guidance, courage, and vision. Without those, even the strongest energy will fail. He spent the following days training the humans more systematically, teaching them strategies for movement, observation, and survival. They could not match the aliens in strength, but under Kieran's guidance, they could outthink them, outmaneuver them, and survive where they had once perished. One evening, while scouting the city, Kieran discovered an alien communications hub. It was guarded but lightly, and he realized that if he could disrupt their communications, the humans could operate more freely. Using the energy, he moved silently through the shadows, avoiding patrols and disabling the devices. He did not destroy the hub, he simply disabled it temporarily, enough to confuse the aliens and give the humans a chance to move safely. When he returned to the warehouse, the humans were cheering quietly, amazed by what he had accomplished. Kieran felt a quiet pride, not arrogance but satisfaction. The gift had given him power, but his choices, courage, and intelligence had made a difference. He realized that humans were not weak simply because of their size or technology. They had creativity, adaptability, and courage. Those qualities, combined with the gift, made them a force even the Empire could not easily ignore. That night, Kieran sat alone on the roof of the warehouse, looking out over the city. The alien patrols moved like clockwork below, but he no longer feared them as he once had. The energy in his veins pulsed gently, guiding him, alerting him, strengthening him. The humans he had helped were safer, stronger, and more confident. And somewhere far away, the princess watched, guiding and observing without interfering. For the first time, Kieran felt a quiet certainty. He was no longer just a human surviving in a dangerous world. He was a leader, a strategist, and a symbol. Even unarmed humans in the right circumstances could rise to power, face overwhelming odds, and change the course of events. And Kieran knew the Empire would soon take notice. The challenges ahead would be greater, the dangers more deadly, and the stakes higher than ever before. But for the first time, he felt ready. He had learned to control the gift, to guide others, and to act decisively. The journey was far from over, but he knew one thing with absolute clarity. He would face the future not with fear, but with determination, courage, and the knowledge that humans, even alone and unarmed, could rise beyond expectation. The city was quiet, but the calm felt false. Kieran could sense it in the hum of the air, the subtle vibrations in the ground, and the shifting shadows of the ruins. The alien empire had noticed him. Reports of a human moving faster than any soldier, appearing where no one expected, had reached even the highest ranks. Tonight, they would come not just to hunt him, but to test the limits of his power. Kieran crouched on the edge of a collapsed tower, overlooking the main avenue. He could see the patrols forming, soldiers wearing heavier armor and moving in synchronized patterns that spoke of elite training. They carried weapons unlike any he had faced before, pulsing with bright energy that could cut through stone. He felt the familiar pulse of the princess's gift within him, steady and guiding, but he knew even that would not be enough if he failed to act wisely. He took a deep breath, focusing. The lessons of the past days, the control, the observation, the strategy, would all be needed tonight. He had learned that raw strength could only take him so far. What mattered now was intelligence, timing, and courage. The first wave of soldiers entered the street below, moving like a dark tide. Kieran leapt into action, using the energy to guide debris, block movements, and distract the soldiers. He moved with precision, faster than they could comprehend, avoiding attacks that would have killed him easily before. His body felt like it belonged to the energy, responding instantly to his thoughts and instincts. The soldiers hesitated, confused by the human who defied their expectations. Kieran took advantage, leading them into traps he had prepared days earlier. A falling beam here, A burst of energy there, and the formation began to crumble. He was careful not to kill unnecessarily, only to subdue and confuse, ensuring he maintained control of the situation. But the Empire had not sent ordinary soldiers tonight. From the shadows, a larger figure emerged, the commander of the elite patrol. Taller, faster, and stronger than the others, it moved with terrifying confidence. Its armor shimmered with a strange energy, and the air seemed to hum with the power it carried. Kieran froze for a moment, feeling the weight of the challenge before him. This was no ordinary test. This was the ultimate trial. He focused, letting the energy flow through him, steadying his heart and sharpening his mind. The commander charged and Kieran dodged, feeling the rush of air as the attack passed close enough to lift him slightly off the ground. Using the gift, he moved debris, guided objects, and dodged with perfect timing. Each movement was calculated, each reaction instant. The commander struck again and again, but Kieran stayed ahead, adapting faster than any human had a right to. The battle was exhausting, but Kieran's training had prepared him. He could sense the commander's rhythm, predict the attacks, and counter them with precision. With a burst of energy, he guided a piece of metal, knocking the weapon from the commander's hands. The alien staggered, momentarily off balance, and Kieran saw his chance. He did not strike recklessly but used a controlled burst of force to push the commander back, forcing it to retreat temporarily. The other soldiers, seeing their leader struggle, faltered. Kieran seized the moment, moving among them like a shadow. He guided objects, dodged attacks, and used his enhanced senses to anticipate every move. Within minutes, the elite patrol was in disarray, unable to regain control against a single human who seemed impossible to defeat. The human survivors watching from hiding emerged carefully, inspired by Kieran's skill and courage. They began moving, guided by the patterns he had taught them. They avoided patrols, gathered supplies, and even helped set distractions. Kieran realized something important. His power was amplified by trust and coordination. Humans working together, following strategy and observation, could achieve things even the Empire did not anticipate. The commander regrouped, furious, and charged again, this time more cautiously. Kieran met the attack with focus, using the energy not only to enhance his speed but to sharpen his awareness. He saw every subtle movement, every shift in balance, and he moved accordingly. The battle was a dance of anticipation and instinct, testing every skill he had developed. Suddenly, he felt a familiar presence, the princess, observing from above. Her eyes glowed faintly, not interfering but guiding subtly. Kieran felt the energy surge, sharper, stronger, more precise. He knew that she trusted him to make the decisions, to control the power, and to prove that humans were capable of more than anyone had believed. With renewed focus, Kieran executed a final maneuver. Using the energy, he guided several pieces of debris to converge on the commander, blocking its escape. At the same time, he created a path for the remaining soldiers to retreat, ensuring they would not regroup immediately. The commander fell back and the street fell silent, the echoes of battle fading into the ruins. Kieran stood alone in the center of the avenue, chest heaving, energy pulsing gently through him. The humans who had watched from hiding emerged slowly, their eyes wide with awe. They had seen what they thought impossible, a single human facing overwhelming odds and prevailing through courage, intelligence, and mastery of a power far beyond ordinary human limits. One of the humans stepped forward, speaking quietly. You saved us. You fought them all." Kieran shook his head, humility in his eyes. "I didn't do it alone. Strategy, observation, and teamwork made the difference. Even humans without gifts can survive if they think and act together. That is what the Empire underestimates." The survivors looked at him with a mix of disbelief and admiration. Kieran realized that this was bigger than him. His actions had inspired hope, proving that humans, even unarmed and seemingly powerless, could challenge the odds and make a difference. The princess approached quietly, her presence commanding but calm. Kieran felt the familiar pulse of energy when she was near. "You have done well," she said. "Tonight, you have proven what humans are capable of when courage, intelligence, and determination are combined with opportunity. You have shown that power is not only strength, but vision and strategy." Kieran nodded. I just followed what I learned from you. You guided me, showed me what is possible." Her eyes softened. "Yes, but the choices were yours. The power only responds to intent and understanding. You have earned this moment, and the humans you have helped will carry the memory of your actions. They will learn, grow, and survive because of what you have done." The humans began moving carefully, following Kieran's lead. Together, they navigated through the ruins, avoiding remaining patrols and securing resources for those in hiding. Kieran realized that his journey was not just about survival, not just about personal power. It was about leadership, guidance, and hope. As dawn approached, the sky shifted to pale orange and soft pink. The city below was still scarred, but the humans had survived another night. Kieran stood on a high ledge looking out at the ruins. The enemy would return stronger and more prepared, but he was ready. He had learned control, patience, and strategy. He had seen what humans could achieve, and he understood that strength alone was not the key. Adaptability, courage, and intelligence were far more important. The princess joined him silently. She placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of trust and acknowledgement. "The Empire will not forget you. They will challenge you, test you, and attempt to destroy what you have built. But humans have something they do not understand: resilience. Even unarmed, even seemingly weak, they can rise beyond expectation. And you are the proof." Kieran felt a surge of determination. He had begun as a human alone, unarmed and vulnerable. Through guidance, courage, and the gift the princess had given him, he had become something more: a symbol of hope, a leader among humans, and a force capable of standing against overwhelming odds. He turned back to the city, knowing that the journey was far from over. There would be more battles, more dangers, and more challenges ahead. But Kieran no longer felt fear. He felt readiness, focus, and a quiet confidence. Humans had the potential to achieve greatness, even in a galaxy ruled by beings far stronger and more advanced. And he would continue to prove it. The city was still and silent as the first rays of sunlight touched the ruins. Kieran took a deep breath, feeling the energy within him pulse gently, a steady rhythm that matched his own heartbeat. He knew that the Empire would come again, that the battles would be harder, and that the future was uncertain. But he also knew that humans, with courage, intelligence, and determination, could survive and thrive. The princess watched him, her eyes glowing softly. She had given him power, guidance, and opportunity. But it was Kieran's choices, his courage, and his determination that had turned possibility into reality. He had learned to control the gift, to inspire others, and to prove that humans, even unarmed, could rise beyond expectation. Kieran stood on the ledge, looking out at the city and the horizon beyond. The air was calm, the ruins still, and for the first time he felt a sense of true purpose. He was no longer simply a human trying to survive. He was a symbol of hope, a force for change, and proof that even the smallest, weakest beings could rise to power with courage and determination. The sun rose fully, casting warm light over the shattered streets, illuminating the humans who now moved with confidence and determination. Kieran felt the energy within him pulse once more, steady and alive. The journey was far from over, but he was ready. And in that moment, Kieran realized the truth he had discovered through every danger, every battle, and every lesson. Humans could endure, adapt, and rise, even against the strongest enemies, even in the darkest places. And with courage, intelligence, and the right guidance, they could become a force the galaxy could not ignore. Kieran took a final breath, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. He had started unarmed, alone, and vulnerable, but he would continue as something far greater, a human who had been given power, learned to master it, and proven that even in a world of advanced aliens, humans could stand tall, fight smart, and survive against all odds. He was unarmed, but the alien princess gave him power,